Yeah. So when you talk about this, it is something like version control system is something like a Git. So basically, CA is a process which pulls the code from the Git and perform all the test activities on top of it. Once everything is passed, it will be creating an artifact. So an artifact can be of multiple types. Like if you want to generate a simple var file or jar file, we will be generating that var file. And after that, we will be pushing that var file to some artifactory or a repository. Okay. So if it is a var file or something like that, JFrog and Nexus are few of the artifactories in the industry that generally people use it. Okay. So if it is a Docker image, then we need to push it to the registry, Docker registry as such. So in this way, we will be generating an artifact using the CI process and verify the code is successfully passed all the test processes. And once it processes all the test processes and also the code coverage, we will be pushing to the corresponding artifact. Okay, that is the main process of CA. And what exactly do you mean by CD? Can someone try to explain? It's fine. Please speak out. Like even if you say something wrong, also nothing will happen. Come on.
CD is automated delivery of complete code to environments like testing or development environment.
Exactly. So a CD is not it is a continuous delivery, and also sometimes we can take the process of continuous deployment as well, right? So all the times it is not about the delivery of our artifact and give a deliverable product. So sometimes we need to deploy that artifact also to the higher environments, right? First of all, we will be deploying that artifact in the lower environments. So in general, in any of the environments, like in any of the organization, we will be having at least 2 to 3 environments, like dev, test, QA, prod, and something like that. Suppose if you want to deploy your application, first of all, we will be deploying your application in the test environment or QA environment. Then we will be going to the, if everything is working successfully over there, we will be moving that artifact and deploying to the next environment. What would be the next environment? A pre-prod environment. Then we will be deploying that application to the prod environment. All this process will be automated using the CD process. Okay, so that is the one. And apart from that, why we need to choose CI/CD? Like, I just want to know a few advantages of using CI/CD.
Automated testing enables continuous delivery, so which ensures software quality and security as well, and increases the profitability for the organization. It means like it will we can produce the software within short time span.
Yes, what you said is absolutely right. And apart from that, we will be receiving faster feedbacks. If some developer develops a code and send it to the CI/CD process, he will immediately come to know whether the tests are passing on top of the code, whether it is able to deploy that application. After deploying that application, an end-to-end test will be running on top of it. If everything is successful, we will come to know immediately. If something fails, like we will be automatically knowing that through some mechanisms like monitoring mechanisms, like the pipeline will fail, and we will automatically know, and we will again try to push a new code with a fix. So in this way, development can be done faster, and also feedback mechanism will be so faster for the people. That's so. Like yesterday, we learned about couple of mechanisms of installation of Jenkins. Like, can someone let me know like what are the processes which we have discussed? Like Manoj, you are talking, right? Like let's someone else talk. Yeah. Like there are around 20 people.
Manoj is calling your name, right?
No. I'm saying Manoj only is explaining all these things, right? Like maybe someone else talk on this.
Okay,
What are
Manoj
the
will answer.
mechanisms?
What about
Yeah.
other guys?
Yeah, no one is talking. That is what I'm saying. Like someone please try to explain like what are the mechanisms, like how we try to install Jenkins.
Aprupa?
Yeah, fine. It's not like a force, like I just am asking. Like generally we try, like I will just reiterate it. Generally we try to install Jenkins using two ways. One is using Tomcat and one is using an RPM based installation. So if you want to install Jenkins over there in any of the missions, the main prerequisite is to have JDK installed in your mission. Whether you are using Tomcat, if you are using RPM based, by default, we need to have JDK installed in your local machine. How do you install JDK? Using yum repositories. Okay. So if you perform m install JDK, Java and its corresponding OpenJDK version, it will install Java version 8 in your local machine. Okay. So by default, if you want to install Jenkins in your local machine, you need to have JDK installed. That is the prerequisite, right? Apart from that, I just want to know like whether you have some knowledge on Tomcat. Like yesterday, I just explained you. I thought you people have some knowledge on Tomcat and everything. That's why I explained you. I haven't explained you in detail. Like, do you have any knowledge on Tomcat, you people?
Like we know what it does, but we don't have much hands-on on it.
Yeah, that's okay. No need of having answer. Like, just want to know what exactly it does.
Yeah, it is used to deploy the web apps.
Yeah, it is basically an application server. Once you develop a web app and create a jar file or war file, we will be pushing that artifact. Like here, our artifact is something like a jar file, right? So our artifact is being copied to the web apps folder in the Tomcat. Yesterday, that is what we did. So after copying the artifact to the web apps folder, once you start that application using the scripts in the bin startup.sh, the Tomcat will correspondingly start and the deployment of Jenkins will happen based on the artifact which we have copied. Okay. In this way, we are starting a Jenkins application. Hope you people got that idea, right? Like what exactly, why we need to use Tomcat and why we are copying Jenkins.war into the web apps folder. Are there any questions out there?
No, sir.
Right. Yeah. Like if it is not clear, please let me know. Like I just want to have a recap. Like I just want to know how much you understood. Okay. And if you want to start an what we say, if you want to start a Tomcat and stop a Tomcat, there are few scripts in the bin folder. So for installation of Jenkins using Tomcat, what exactly the steps we have done? First of all, we downloaded a Jenkins.war file. Okay. Apart from that, we also downloaded a Tomcat latest version from the web. Actually, we downloaded the Tomcat, and also after downloaded the Tomcat, we extracted the zip file, and after that, we copied the Jenkins.war file into the web apps directory. Okay. Once it is done, we started the Tomcat. How we have started the Tomcat? There is a script like named startup.sh in the bin folder. We have to go to that bin folder and start that script using sh space startup.sh. So that is what we have done yesterday. So there is also one more process that we have used, like something like an RPM process, like installing a Tomcat using RPM. Like for that, what exactly we have done? Like, please do anyone remember?
Sorry, can you please come again?
Like we have also discussed about installation of Jenkins using RPM based, right?
Yeah.
What exactly the steps we have done out there? I just want to.
Like we added the repository in our local first,
Yeah.
and the link, and then we installed the Jenkins.
Okay. Once we have installed the Jenkins, also we have started the Jenkins using systemctl commands. Okay.
Yeah.
So systemctl start Jenkins will start the Jenkins. Similarly, systemctl status Jenkins will get the status of the Jenkins, whether it is started properly or not. And also, if you want to stop the corresponding Jenkins, we need to use a systemctl stop Jenkins as such. Once everything is done, we need to use the HTTP URL to access your Jenkins application. Basically, by default, the Jenkins port is something like 8080, right? Using your local IP :8080, we should be able to log into the Jenkins. Okay. Till now, you people got some idea like what exactly we have discussed yesterday. Like if you people have any questions, feel free to ask. Like today, I just want to continue on the next steps. So as I said earlier, like I have installed Jenkins in my one of the EC2 server, and based on that, I'm just going through the next steps as such. Let me connect to Jenkins once again. You people are able to see my screen, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
One second, I'm starting.
Sir, I'm having a doubt.
Yeah, tell me.
Also, you told about installing Jenkins through RPM, right? In that, before installing it, we added like some repositories to our local machine, that is source.list, something like that.
Yeah.
So why we need to do that before installing? Can you?
Okay. By default, any of the operating system will provide few of the repos from which we can download anything to your machine actually. Okay.
Okay.
So suppose while installing JDK, we are not installing any repos for our machine, right? We are directly doing install JDK. By default, it is there in the existing repo list of your operating system. Thereby, you are installing the JDK in your local. But whenever you are trying to install Jenkins, it is not there in your repo list. It's an external one, a third party one. So for that, there are few repos that are provided by the Jenkins itself that needs to be added to your machine. And after that only you can download it from the internet to your local. That is why we are adding few repos.
So that is just a link which is saved in a file.
Exactly. From where we need to search it, that is the link it will be shown.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm connecting to my. So by default, you can try it without any installation of repositories. But if it fails, like if it is saying it doesn't have anything to do, then you need to check in the Google what are the repositories which you need to add to pull it.
Okay. If, by installing through Tomcat, it doesn't required, or
Tomcat is something like an application server, right? Like if you want to install any of the application, like at that time we will be installing the Tomcat, and similarly Jenkins has provided one WAR file. Okay, something like Jenkins.war file.
Yeah.
So we will be copying the Jenkins.war file in the WebApps folder and just start the Tomcat. So for that, we are not depending on the RPM based installation. We are completely depending on the artifact, like WAR file as an artifact. That is why at that time there is no need of adding repos.
Fine. The .var file will contains everything.
Yes.
Okay.
It is like simply deploying any of the application. Suppose if you build any application on top of it, if you want to install it, like this is how you will be doing, right? We will be first installing the Tomcat, and after that we'll be generating some var file, and using that var file we will be doing, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So okay. Ignore this, but just I'm sharing. Okay. So basically, while installation of Jenkins, like basically once you hit your IP of your machine and also colon 8080, so first of all, you need to unlock your Jenkins. So in order to unlock your Jenkins, first you need to copy the administration password. It is there in var lib Jenkins. It is also shown in the UI itself. Like if you are using a different directory in your machine, like it will be shown out there. For me, it is something like var lib Jenkins and secrets and initial admin password. I need to connect to the instance, like whichever machine I am installing the Jenkins, and I should get the IP. I should get the password of it. Let me do that. CD desktop. I am connecting to my machine. First of all, we need to check systemctl status Jenkins. So my Jenkins is in active state and it is running. That is why we are able to access this one, right? Now I need to get the first admin password. So once it is done, there are two types of installation it will suggest. One is with custom plugins. One is with select the plugins that you want to install. By default, first of all, we will be installing all the custom plugins that is suggested by Jenkins. Then we will proceed with the further steps. Like sometimes we will be, sometimes some of the people want to select their own plugins which they want to install as part of the Jenkins. Then we need to choose the second option as such. Okay, let's go proceed with the first option. And now it will take some time to install all these dependencies as such. So by default, we will be getting all these dependencies like folders creation, and also if build timeouts, it will, the Jenkins job has to fail, right? And also dependencies on the Ant, Gradle, and also pipeline, and integration with the Git, and few of the other things also it will be provided. Like if you have a pipeline created, like it will be showing in the stage view. For that, we need to have some plugins installed. These are the default plugins that will be installed when you are installing Jenkins. Once everything is installed, it will ask us to create a first admin user that through which we have to log into the machine. So for that, I'm creating one admin user with my name, same password. You can use your corresponding names or something like that, and based on that, you can create the admin user. Oh, somewhere it is email address. Okay. $7.20. So your Jenkins URL is something like 18. That is what we are trying to access. Fine. Save and finish. Start using Jenkins. So by default, you see like you came into the dashboard of the Jenkins and you're logged into the corresponding user, like the user that I have created. So basically, if you want to log out, like the Jenkins user ID is something like Harsha, and also the password also I created with the same name Harsha, right? So suppose if I want to log out, here is the thing which I need to do. And if I want to log in again, okay. So this is how we need to log in initially for the first time. The next thing is something like we need to know a few things about administration of the Jenkins. So the administration of the Jenkins lies in the manage Jenkins path, which is in the left. And apart from that, there is one more thing like new item. In this new item, like if you click on this new item, like we will be getting some new things, like it will be showing whether we want to create some freestyle project, whether we want to create some pipelines, and also multi-configuration project. And also if you want to create a folder and organize every job which we create in a single folder as such, like multi-branch pipeline and also organization of all this folder. So all these things are basically shown over here, and based on that, if you choose one thing and give a name and click on OK, it will create the corresponding one. Let's discuss this later. First of all, today we will be discussing mostly on the manage Jenkins part. Okay, manage Jenkins part is something like, it basically talks about the configurations of your Jenkins. Okay, there are few global configurations that you want to set up. Then those things you can do in the manage configuration as such. Let's try to go with the credentials and creation of your user data and users as such. Right now we have a single user. If you see, Harsha Deepak is a single user and the username is something like Harsha. Similarly, if you want someone else to give access, like if you want someone else to connect to the Jenkins using their own user, then you need to create their user. Right? For that, you are coming here to manage users in the security and create a new user as such. So now you see, you have created another user, and let's try to log in with that user and see what happens. Similarly, you have created another user. Using that user also, we are able to log in. Right? My username is Deepak over here, and my user ID is also Deepak. So in this way, like from the manage Jenkins, we can create multiple users as such. And also similarly, if you want to modify any existing user, you need to come here. If there is a change in the email ID, we can update it over here. And also if you want to add it to a corresponding view, like views are something which we will be discussing later. And also if someone forgets their password and if you want to update their password and give it to them, like you can come over here, update their password and share the password with them. Okay. These are the few activities and things that you can do. And also you can mention the default time zone. Like once they log into the mission, they can see the default time zone. Like if you are running a job, it will be having a timestamp also attached to it with it, right? So at that time, we can attach a timestamp to them. Like if people are working from United States or something like that, you can choose the United States timestamp to them, so that whenever they run a job, the corresponding timeline they will be seeing is something like based on the US. In this way, you can define a time zone for them, for each and every user as well. So the next thing is something like, if you want to remove that user that you have created, you need to again go to the manage Jenkins. And similarly, you can just click on this. Okay. It will remove that user. Right now, you logged in with new username, right? Deepak. That is why we cannot delete the existing user which you have logged in. But it is giving an option to delete the other user which you are not logged in with. So here, that's why we can only delete the other user itself, but not the user which you have logged in. That is what you need to understand out here. So hope you got the clear idea, like how to create a user, how to delete a user, if you want to update anything, how to update it as well. Okay. Any questions over here till now?
Excuse me, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Am I not audible?
Sir, I'm having one doubt actually.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, actually, you added one user right now.
Yes.
New user. Okay. Let's say Deepak. Okay, that user having all the permissions what admin user Harsha is having, right?
Exactly. Right now. Yeah.
Okay. If you create any user, he can also have all the permission what the admin user are having.
Exactly.
Hence, we are creating admin users only, you can say.
Right now we are creating admin users. Okay. There is a way to restrict, there is a way to restrict user to a specific job and everything that we will be discussing going forward.
Fine. Okay.
Okay. Right now, whatever we have creating is something like an admin user, like it is same replica of the existing user as such, because we haven't created any groups and also user management and all these things as such. Okay.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Sir, in real time, so what is the purpose of creating multiple user under one user?
Sorry.
Hello.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
What is the purpose of adding new users, sir?
Exactly.
In industry.
So the main purpose of adding new users is something like, so in an organization there will be multiple teams, right? And also a single Jenkins server will be shared across multiple teams. Okay. Suppose in a single team, like in a single, what we say, suppose a team is working to develop an e-commerce application. Some people will be working on front end, and another team will be working on back end, and another team will be working on operations tasks for deployment in the production and something like that. And front end people should not have access to the jobs in the back end. And also front end people should not have access to the jobs which operation people have access to. Right. Similarly, Backend people should not have access to the jobs of the front-end people and also the operation people. Operation people are basically admin guys, right? They should have access to all the jobs. In this way, there are three kind of groups that we are creating over here, discussing over here: front-end, back-end, and operations. So in that, if any of the person joins to one of the groups, suppose if one user joins to front-end group, so for that corresponding user, you will be adding a group, and that group will be having permissions to only access front-end jobs, not the backend, not the operation jobs. In this way, we are restricting few users who are using the same Jenkins to access only specific kind of jobs.
Okay.
But right now, everything we are creating is an admin, but still, I'm saying like in this way, we can restrict it. Okay. In future, we'll be discussing about how to create the other set of users and how to restrict and everything. Like, okay, hope it is clear for you people.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's go to the next one. In manage Jenkins, like there is a global tool configurations and also manage plugins as such. Like, let's go to the manage plugins. Like, if you want to install any plugins to your mission, to the Jenkins that you have installed, here you can go to the manage Jenkins and you can see what are the available plugins in the market. What are the things that I have already installed? So if you see here, initially you remember, right? We have already installed an plugin by default. And also few plugins by default has been installed, like build timeout. While installation, I have shown you, right? Build timeout is one of the plugins. And similarly, we have discussed about few other plugins also. Git client plugin, Git plugin, all the things by default. Whenever you are installing the Jenkins, you are able to get this by default. So authorization strategy, metric authorization trust. When we discussed about how to restrict a specific user to a specific job, then we will be discussing about the matrix authorization strategy and everything. For that, we will be using this kind of plugin. Okay, then that we will discuss. So apart from that, if you want to install new plugins to your mission, to your Jenkins mission, what exactly you need to do is something like come here and select what exactly you want to install. Okay, suppose right now I have integration only to the Git. There are also other source code managements, right? Like Subversion and something like that. Like if I want to have Subversion installed to my Jenkins jobs, I need to click on it, download and install. So if you want to enable this, we need to restart our mission, like restart the Jenkins when the installation is complete. So if you want to install any new plugins based on our requirement, you need to go over there, select the plugin, and you need to, once the installation is done, you need to restart your Jenkins as such. It will take a couple of minutes to reload. Let it take. So what we have tried to install is something like, let's try to create a sample job, like a freestyle job. Test. Okay. So if you remember, like, okay, like by default, I haven't shown you, right? Initially by default, whenever I have installed the source code management is something like, by default, we have the Git as a plugin that has been already installed. Now the next one, it is something like, we just want to have another source code version, like subversion, that needs to be added as part of your Jenkins job. For that, we install this plugin as such. Like after installing that plugin only, we are able to see that subversion over there in your source code management. Otherwise, we cannot see this subversion over there. Let's try to remove that plugin and see if you are able to see this over there. Okay, so that you will understand what exactly we have done till now. Okay. So manage Jenkins, manage plugins, installed, subversion. We are uninstalling the subversion plugin. Dashboard, test, we need to restart. Okay, uninstallation is in pending state. We need to restart our Jenkins for the changes to be reflecting that. So let's try to install any other source code controller, like Bitbucket. Now we are trying to install another source code management tool, something like a Bitbucket, which is similar to Git and also the subversion as such. Okay, let's see whether we are able to see that option in the job we have created. Okay. Let me restart the Jenkins. Now, if you go here, like we have installed, what we have installed Bitbucket, right? So for that, we need to go to manage plugins. We need to check whether the plugin is installed or not. Let me click on this manage plugins. And initially we went to the available and checked it and installed it, right? Now we need to go to installed folder and see whether the Bitbucket is installed or not. Okay, if you see here, the Bitbucket plugin is in the enabled state and it is installed. Let's go back. Managing. Go back. Test job. Configure. And we have set up the Bitbucket integration with Open Blue Ocean, right? That we are able to see it. Initially, by default, we don't get this plugin like Open Blue plugin. Like this basically use it to show, like organize the view of the Jenkins. Like whenever you create a Jenkins job, it will create some folder structure and it will be representing in the blue folder. If something is running, it will be showing in the blue in color. If something has been failed, it will be shown in red color. And if something is successful, it will be showing in the green color, the corresponding job as such. So for that, we need to have this Ocean Blue plugin that we have installed as part of the Bitbucket. So Open Blue Ocean, like let's go to the dashboard and see whether we have installed the Open Blue Ocean as such. Bitbucket pipeline for Blue Ocean. That is what we have installed it right now, right? So for that, we are able to see that in the dashboard, Open Blue Ocean. And also if you see here, like we have removed subversion over here. Initially, we saw Git and subversion, right? We removed the subversion over here. That is what we have removed after restart. In this way, if you want to install any of the custom plugins that you want to show as part of the pipeline, it can be done over here as such. Do you have any questions like how to install a custom plugin and everything, and how to manage it and how to remove it and everything?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next thing we'll be knowing about our system configuration is something like configure system. Here we'll be passing few global paths. Let's go and check it out here. So by default, if you want to know where the Jenkins is installed in your local machine, is something like where lib Jenkins. Let's go over here and see what exactly is there in the machine. cd where. Oh, I got disconnected from this. Again, I will connect. cd slash where slash Jenkins. This is basically the home directory of the Jenkins. Like whenever you install something, this all the corresponding jobs and folders will be created over here itself. Suppose let's go to the jobs folder. What is the job we have created over the test, right? So the correspondingly, the folder will be created over here. Suppose if you create a new job, let's go and try to create a new item. So right now in your dashboard, there are two jobs. One is something like a Harsha and another one is something like a test, right? Suppose if you want to see it in the backend, go to your ITER and do ls minus LRH. Now you see two jobs. If you want to remove the jobs, you can do it either from the UI itself. Delete project. Or else you can come here and also remove from here as well. So in this way, we can know what are the things that are basically installed in your machine. And also, if you want to migrate your Jenkins, like you have an existing Jenkins created, and you have all the jobs that has been created in the Jenkins. Like if you want to migrate it from one mission to another mission, you need to come to this home folder. And what exactly you need to do is something like we need to zip the entire folder structure and move this folder structure to another mission. And if you unzip over there, so again, the same replica of this Jenkins will be created over there. So in this way, it is so useful, like to know the home directory, the where the Jenkins is installed. Like at time of migration, it is so useful. You need to understand this. You understood, right? Like why we need to migrate Jenkins. Suppose if this mission is down due to some issues, we regularly take the backups of this home directory and keep it in S3 bucket or some other bucket. And if you want to install the same Jenkins in another mission, simply we will take the backup of the folder from the S3 bucket and unzip it over there in the new mission, so that the new mission will have the same configuration and the same jobs which has been created already in the existing one. So that is why every time it is better to take the backup of the existing home directory whenever you install Jenkins, so that there won't be any downtime to your Jenkins application. And we can perform disaster recovery in case of any disaster to your existing machine. Is it clear? Like why we need to take the backup of your home directory?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. Yes. And apart from that, like in the configure system, we will be passing few global settings also. Like parallelly, number of executors that can run. Yeah. What exactly do you mean by executor? So suppose if you're running a job, there can be multiple jobs that can be created in a single Jenkins, right? It is not like single job will be created in your Jenkins mission. So parallelly, if you are executing something on the front end, if some other team is executing on the back end, and there is one more team which is executing on the operations to deploy in the production, so they cannot parallelly do all the jobs at once. So it is mostly dependent on the number of executors. So if I say only parallel executors has 2, so at parallel we can only execute 2 Jenkins jobs in that corresponding Jenkins mission. Only the front end people and back end people can execute their jobs. If parallelly, if someone else like operations stream tries to execute some other job over there, they need to wait for some more time until one of the first 2 jobs need to be completed. Okay. So in this way, executors are so useful. At max, you can give 10 executors. Like there can be any number of executors. Generally, the industry follows at max, we can have parallelly 10 executors based on the instance size that we have chosen. Right. Suppose you chose a small mission, like at 1 core 2 GB RAM mission. At that time, you cannot give 10 executors because it consumes a lot of memory and CPU, and your Jenkins will be crashing down. So at that time, you need to choose only 1 to 2 executors only. Suppose you have a big mission like 8 core 16 GB mission. At that time, at max, you can give 10 executors that can parallelly run, so that 10 jobs can run parallelly as such. So in this way, we can define the executors as such. And also, if you want to label your Jenkins, you can label that Jenkins as such, Jenkins host. So right now, our label to our mission is something like it is our Jenkins host, right? In future, we can also add few other nodes to this Jenkins mission also. Why we need to add a node to the Jenkins mission? Any idea? Till now, you understood, right? Like right now, if you run any job, it will be running the job in the host mission only. Host mission in the sense, whatever the mission you have installed your Jenkins, 18.192.19.249 for me. for you, whatever machine you have installed, it will be running it over there itself. Suppose if you install a node and attach that node to the existing Jenkins, what exactly will happen is something like our Jenkins will work as a master and try to perform all these actions on the corresponding node itself. Okay. So we will be discussing about the node, and we will be trying to add one of the node or there in the next classes. But right now we will be having a single machine where everything is basically performed in the single Jenkins. We have installed it all there. Okay.
So node is like another Jenkins machine.
It is not. Node is something like it is not like exactly the Jenkins server. Like it is something like Jenkins node, like where we can perform all the operations which we define in the pipeline. Suppose if I say in the node we need to perform like git pull, like from the source code management, we will pull all the code over there, build the artifact over there in the node, and push it to the repository. All these operations will be performed in the corresponding node which we have mentioned in the job.
Okay.
It is almost similar to Jenkins master only, but it doesn't have the server installed over there.
So it has all the resources as well, like disk space and
yeah, it has the disk space, everything. It is almost like a virtual machine, another virtual machine added to this Jenkins master. Okay, why we need to do it is something like segregation. Suppose if you want to perform deployment on a specific node, okay, from Jenkins master, there is one production environment, you need to perform deployment over there. Directly, we can add that node to this Jenkins master and just perform the deployment over there. Pull the artifact from somewhere and just go to that machine and deploy it by adding it as a node. That is one of the use cases. It is not the only use case. That is one of the use cases. Otherwise, if you want to build the artifact in a new machine, that is also we can do in that node. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And also there are few usage criteria, like if you are using a multiple nodes, and based on it you can choose whether you need to choose this node as much as possible, and also only builds which has this label. Right now we have added the label host, right? So in the jobs, if we have a label matching this label host, then only those jobs will run in this host mission. Otherwise, it will be taking the other free node that will be attaching to the master. Right now, we will be choosing only the first option, use this node as much as possible. Okay. So there is one more thing, is something like a quiet period. So quiet period is something like, so if you want to start a job in this node, right, like immediately it won't start it. It will wait for 5 seconds or something like that before the job to start. So that is what the quiet period is. And SCM checkout retry count. So what is SCM checkout retry counts? SCM is something like a source code management, right? Sometimes while running that job, you need to pull the code from the source code management, right? Git or something like that. So how many times you need to retry to pull the code? If sometimes due to some network issue, for the first time the code is not able to pull it to your local, what you need to do? Again, suppose let's try 2 times. Like it will try for the 2 times. Even after 2 tries, if it doesn't able to check out the code to your local, then the Jenkins job will fail. These are all the few things that we can mention it over here. Like these are all the few global settings we can mention in the configure system part. Okay. And the next one is something like a Jenkins URL. Right now we are using Jenkins URL of http://18.192. Right? So basically, like in industry, we won't be using these kind of URLs. We will be adding some DNS names. So after adding the DNS and creation of the load balancer and attaching the load balancer to the Jenkins URL, At the time, we should not be adding this Jenkins URL over here. Instead of that, we'll be having something like Jenkins hyphen LWS. Is some just a name. Okay. So if you hit this DNS, it will correspondingly redirect to this. At that time, you need to change the Jenkins URL. Instead of adding it with IP, we need to use the host name out there. Right now, we don't have any email server. Sorry, we don't have any load balancer or DNS configured. Right? That's why we are able to just use only the IP of the machine. Like if you have any DNS configured, we need to change the corresponding DNS and add it over here as such. Okay.
Sir,
And
why
also
we
there
need
are
quiet
also
period?
few. Tell me.
Why we need quiet period?
Yeah. So white period is something like immediately you like whenever you're trying to build a job, it doesn't like there is some time that like suppose white period is not required if you are using the master as only the place where you need to build it. But suppose if you are trying to build your application in another node, like if you are attaching a node to your master and trying to build it over there, at that time we need to verify few connections to your mission, right? Like whether your master is able to reach that node or not, whether the mission is up or not. So at that time, you need to understand whether the mission is working and if your master is able to connect to that node. At the time, there are few minutes or few seconds that your master need to understand whether the other mission is reachable or not. At that time, the quiet period is so useful so that it will perform all the actions before starting the Jenkins check. Otherwise, it will say that your node is not reachable.
Yeah, so it is used to debug the connection and so.
Yeah, internally it is helpful for the master to debug. Yeah. So there are few other global settings also we can do. Like suppose if you want to have by default an environment variable that is used in every job. Right now, I'm not finding any scenario, but suppose if I already have JDK installed in my mission. What is this? This is my mission, right? Yeah, again, it is not, it got disconnected. By default, think about something. So suppose you have Maven installed in your Jenkins mission. And if you want to set the path of the Jenkins Maven over here, we can set it as an environment variable. Similarly, we can add other tool locations. It's not only Maven, any other tools. If you want to have a Git, by default, what is the Git we need to use? What is the Git home path that we need to use? All these variables can be set it over there. Like in future, I will be taking one of the example and try to set that variable and use it over there in your Jenkins job. But right now, like you understood, right? Like what are the environment variables? Here, if you want to set anything which is global to all the jobs which you are creating, if you want to set any tools path which is global to all the tools which you are using, then we need to come here and set the corresponding path over here. Okay. And also for the pipeline speed and everything. So there are few options that are basically provided by the Jenkins by default. We can choose any one of them. By default, we can go with the none, use the default pipeline speed and everything. Instead of that, some people try and want to have the pipeline completed a bit faster. So at that time, we need to have high resource that needs to be attached to that mission. Instead of using a 2-core or a 4-core, we need to have a high-end mission so that your pipeline can also work faster using the other options which we have. Right now, we don't have any such requirement that pipeline needs to be completed as fast as I can. That's why we'll go with the none option as such. These are like few of the GitHub servers that we want to attach and everything. So we initially know it, right? Like if you have a GitHub server that we want to attach it over there. Like if you want to have a GitHub URL installed, like suppose, let me take my own GitHub. Sign in. Okay, fine. Like tomorrow I will try to show it. Like right now I don't remember my Jenkins, like my own GitHub password and everything. Like, so suppose if you have a GitHub URL, like you can attach that GitHub URL and also add the corresponding username and password over here. Like using this add, we can add the corresponding username of your Jenkins, like GitHub URL as such. So that using the username and password, you can connect to the corresponding GitHub. Otherwise, if you want to have a secret or a pass a certificate also, generally people try to pass a certificate over there, add a certificate and try to connect to the GitHub as such. Like we will be discussing about how to connect to the GitHub and everything later. Like if you want to do it globally, like here is the option, like every time whenever you create a job, it will try to pull the code from the corresponding GitHub only. But now we don't want to use the global GitHub, like we will be configuring GitHub at the local level for each and every job. For that, we will be using the GitHub at the job level itself. Right now, we will be canceling this. So there are a lot of other options. Like right now, everything is not required for us. Like if you want to configure an SMTP server. So why we need a SMTP server? Suppose while running a Jenkins job, if something fails, after failing, if you want to send some email to corresponding person, like to understand that this job is failed or this job is successful or not. At that time, we'll be configuring an SMTP server to your Jenkins, like it will be using the same SMTP server and send mails to the corresponding person, which you have mentioned over there. So for that, we need to have our own SMTP server created and put it over there. Right now, SMTP server is something like we haven't configured it anywhere, right? In future, whenever we configure any of the SMTP server and something like that, so then we can have the own SMTP server IP added over here and send mails to the corresponding person as such. And these are like few of the options which we can attach over there. And after that, just apply and save with the changes that you have made right now. It is not mandatory to update each and every configurations which are there by default. But if you want to update anything in specific, right now I have updated few things like number of executors and SCM retry count. If initially it is not able to pull it from the source code management, it will try to do it for the 2 times, and even after 2 times, if it fails, it will fail. Similarly, we can have few environment variables configured. And also similarly, we have Bitbucket endpoints configured. We have installed the Bitbucket plugin, right? It is also similar to Git. Git and Bitbucket are almost similar, but different versions. Different type of providers provide this, GitHub and Bitbucket. Both are source code management tools only. So if you want to enable this Bitbucket cloud and everything, we can go over there and add it. And also there is one more option, is something like enable global timeout. Suppose you are running a Jenkins job and it is running forever. Is it okay for you people? No, right? So after 30 minutes or something like that, your Git, like if something fails, it should be timed out, right? Instead of retrying for 1 hour or 2 hours, it should fail after 30 minutes. So at that time, we should be enabling this global timeout. Like whatever the Jenkins job that is running, at max, it can run only for 30 minutes. If it crosses more than 30 minutes, we should fail that job. And correspondingly, people should come and know like why it has been failed. These are few of the settings by default. And by default that is provided is something like 3 minutes. If you want to upgrade, I have upgraded to 30 minutes. And the next one is something like global tools and configuration. Okay. So as I said earlier, like there we can pass few of the global variables over there. Here, if you want to pass some of the global tool, sorry, any questions?
Sir, in timeout you shown right now, right?
Sorry?
You previously shown that timeout, right?
Yeah.
Timeout for the project.
Yes,
that is
exactly.
for running of the project or what, sir? If the job
pipeline
fails,
suppose your pipeline is there, it is trying to pull something from the internet. Okay. But it is not able to pull it, and it is just retrying it for 30 to 40 minutes.
Okay.
Is
After
it okay
failing the job, it will take only 30 minutes to reach that server. If it is not possible, it is going to fail. That is the time zone you are giving, right?
Exactly. It will take 30 minutes to complete that job or pipeline at max. That is the maximum time.
For retrying,
that time, it should fail.
Yes, sir. For retrying process, we are giving only 30 minutes to retry that.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Otherwise, if you want to manually do it, just cancel that job and retry it. Otherwise, if you want system to retry and if you want a system to stop after 30 minutes of that execution of the job, it will do it. Okay. Every time you cannot monitor all the jobs, right? Like there are few jobs which will be going into the struck state, and it will be running for 24 hours if you don't configure this kind of configuration. Then if some of the jobs, like if 2 jobs goes into a struck state, your entire Jenkins will collapse because it consumes all the resources, right? For the 24 hours, if it is taking too much of resource, your Jenkins will stuck, and also your Jenkins will collapse. Instead of doing that, we'll be giving a maximum timeout limit. So after 30 minutes, your job should be terminated. That is what we are trying to do. Hope it is clear for you people. Yeah. So in configure system, we have defined few, and we discussed about few environment variables that we can pass and add it over there. And also, if you want to have some global tool configuration that needs to be attached, this can be done it over here. So by default, they are providing few global tools configuration. This is something like Maven integration. Like if you have already installed JDK in your machine, like you can add the JDK path over here. Or else if you want to add a custom installer, we can add it over here, extract the zip and perform the corresponding actions. And also if you want to have some other instance of JDK installed, we can do this. Like if you want to have developer kit of 9 version, 7 version, and 6 version, we can do it over here. So similarly, if you want to have Git also installed in your machine, what is the Git path? By default, what is the Git? Like suppose if you go to your machine and see if Git is installed. By default, Git won't be installed in your local machine. So in order to define the part of the Git, we need to go to your machine and have Git installed in one of the path and define the path over here. Whether it is user local bin or user bin or something like that. Correspondingly, the Git executable will be executed using that path as such. And if you have any dependencies on Gradle and or Maven, you can add the corresponding paths over here. And basically using those paths, the corresponding jobs will be running using those things. So these are few of the global tool configurations that we can add over here. Like right now, like I'm not adding anything. Like whenever we have a requirement on any of the Maven or the Git installations, at the time I will add the Git dependency over there and show it to you. Okay. Right now, we are only just discussing what are the different options that Git provides to us.
Sir, excuse me.
Yeah.
Sir, you told about nodes in the configuration, right? So is it similar to master slave architecture?
Exactly. So if you see here, like manage nodes and clouds, there is the third option, like here. So it will give us an option where to run your Jenkins job. Suppose by default, few of the people want to run the Jenkins job in the Jenkins master itself. It is something like built-in node.
Okay.
And also there are few things like few of the people want to add a new node and correspondingly run your Jenkins job in that new node. At that time, we have an option like add a new node and add it as a permanent agent. At that time, we need to add few keys over there, like create that new node and add the keys of the new node here. And then only the communication will happen from your master and the node. So right now I haven't created a new node. In future, I will create a new node and try to add it over there and attach a new node and try to run the missions over there. Okay. So right now I don't have any new mission so that I can configure over there. That's why I'm not showing it over here. But generally, if you want to add a new node, this is what the thing you need to do.
Okay.
So
only
here
master
sorry, yeah, it is follows master slave concept.
Yeah, that's what. Like master is only node which is accessing the source code management tool.
No, master is the node which gives the instructions to all the nodes that are attached.
Okay.
If you want to have the source code management, if you want to pull the code to the node also, we can do it with the help of master. So master gives the instructions to the node and node perform all these kind of operations.
Fine, got it.
Right now, I added some random name, right? This is added as a node, but if you see here, it is in cross shape because I haven't established the connection in between by built-in node and also the new node that has been added. So once I establish the connection, it will be also green in color, not like the normal one, which I will be doing in future. Okay. So today we discussed about few things like how to create a new user and everything. And also we also discussed about the global configuration, like what are the by default executors that it provides if you want to change it and everything. And also where the Jenkins will be installed, the home directory. And also SCM retries, few of the retry mechanisms, few of the environment variables when we need to add, we understood it. Apart from that, if you want to install some of the tools also, we have discussed it over here. Okay. So similarly, we try to install some plugins, like you understood what are the plugins that we have installed can be seen here. And if you want to see available plugins, if you want to install new type of plugins, it will be shown over here. So these are few of the things which we have learned today. And also have the Open Blue Ocean plugin that has been installed over here. So with this, I just want to conclude this session. Like by tomorrow, like I would be discussing about new things. The new things include managing a user to have access to a specific job as such. Right now, we created some dummy jobs. Like every user which we have created is having the access to all the jobs. In next session, we will be discussing about creating a complete job and how to run it. And also apart from that, we'll be discussing about how to restrict a specific user to have access to a specific job as such. So next session will be on that. Okay. And also we'll be having some integration to Git also. At that time, we will be configuring the Git tool configuration as such. So right now, I just want you people to install the Jenkins and have a couple of plugins created. Like I want SVN as a plugin into your mission. And also I want Blue Ocean as a plugin to your mission. I want someone to share it tomorrow and show what are the plugins that you have installed by default and what are the plugins that you have by default and what are the new plugins that you have installed as well. Okay. Hope that is clear for you people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I want someone to share tomorrow. Like today, I haven't asked anyone because it is for the first time, right? Even you're trying to install. Even if you haven't installed Jenkins in your local till now, please try to install and have some of the plugins created and add some other users also. Okay. And one more final thing, like, do we have a class tomorrow or on Monday?
Asha, if you are available for tomorrow, then we will have a class for tomorrow.
Okay, can I say it in next 1 hour? Like I will inform Madhu on this. Okay, is that
Sure,
fine?
sure.
Like generally, what is the practice do you follow? Like, do you have class on Monday, Sundays?
Generally, that like how it is the situation, we will decide upon how the trainer Praveen is available. So
Okay.
we will take in that time.
Means I will inform Madhu on this. Okay, so that
Sure,
he will inform people. Okay.
Okay.
But based on our today's class, I will share the recording as well to you people. But try to install all these plugins and see whether the corresponding plugins are getting reflected in your dashboard or something like that. Okay. Tomorrow I want someone to share these things.
No, not someone. Everyone has to complete.
And then like everyone has to do, but I will pick random people and I just want to check them. Okay.
You just give me like text form. Like what are the tasks that they have to complete, like installation of Jenkins and what are the plugins. So you just give me a document so that we will follow up in the Q&A class.
Yeah, in next half an hour, I'll be sharing you the document, like what are the things they need to install. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.